Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Joe Mavretic and Bob Etheridge. We've talked a lot about the superintendent and the State Board of Education not getting along very well, but we haven't addressed the UNC Board of Governors. Recently, a number of citizens who had served on the BOG criticized the current board because they said it was too political and said what they were doing was clearly bad governance. What's your perspective on these criticisms, Joe Mavretic?
Well, I have a long-standing position on this, and the first is that we have 32 members of the board. We have 16 university campuses. In my opinion, every university campus should have a representative statutorily assigned to the board. And that representative from each one of the 16 university campuses ought to have been either on the board at the time or recently on the board within, let's say, 2 or 3 years, so that every one of the university campuses has a person who can advocate for the needs and the wishes of that university on the board. And if you take 16 of those political appointed jobs or positions away from the board and give them to the
legislature,
and then the legislature has 16, not a majority, you get rid of a great deal of the political stuff and the social stuff that goes with being on the BOG. And until we do something like this, we're going to continue to have this problem, and it's going to exacerbate because now the Republicans are challenging the bias of the university system. And that's destructive.
That's another topic for another day. Bob Etheridge, what do you think about this?
That's a good point. But the other piece of it is, you know, you get people on the board who say we ought to run this like a business. Well, last time I checked, if you run it like a business, board of directors hires a CEO and lets them run the business and not get into meddling into day-to-day affairs, and that's the big problem. And it is a political problem, but it's also an ideological problem, that they aren't allowing the CEO who has been hired to run the board, to run the system that benefits our state. There was a time when we did that.
Oh, yeah.
And we have benefited as a state from
well,
it.
we had some presidents of the university system that wouldn't have tolerated it in the past.
But at that time, Tom,
Dick Spangler would not have cottoned to that very much.
We had a mix of parties, Democrats, Republicans, Joe, as you remember. We had a mix. We had an ethnic mix on the board, and it worked because they understood that they had a CEO and they ran the operation.
You see this getting any better, Joe?
Not in the near term. And the reason is when we were a democratically controlled state for 100 years, and Bill Friday was the champion president of the university system, which grew from 3 to now 16 campuses, everybody was kind of in harness, in trace. But as North Carolina has shifted to a state that no longer is a Democratic or Republican state, it's really a state controlled by independent voters, then you have these problems arising that we never had before. And I don't see any diminution of that in the near term.
Interesting. So we'll keep talking about this for a while.
Yeah, but Joe, when we were a Democratic state, we didn't just put Democrats on the board.
True, but we never put them in a majority either.
No, but we mixed. But we had a mix. We didn't kick all the Republicans off.
Understand, but I go back to, I would rather have.
There's one Democrat on the board now.
Well,
something like that.
I would rather have 16 members from the 16 campuses, and then you can do whatever you want with the demographics of the other 16.
You talked about Friday. Friday Denver did like the idea of having 32 members, and he particularly didn't like the idea of having them appointed by the legislature. Another topic for another day. Thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.